Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Goa in Palolem Beach, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das, who's live in South India in Varkala. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Goa. I guess this is South India. Goa is sort of like it's like West India, South. It's below
Southish.
Karnataka. It's Southish. You're way south. We're pretty south. Goa is sort of south. It's north of Kerala, I think, and
I don't
south
know
of
if
Karnataka.
it's a state that they normally would call South India.
I think they would. Google
Mara?
that one, Mara. Do you know it's the gross national product in Goa is more than anywhere in all of India? Yep, has the high 2.5 times as high as the GDP per capita of the country as a whole.
That must mean that like wealthy people have their homes there, or something like their getaway homes there, or something like that.
I think it's because a lot of tourism comes here. Like everybody comes here.
Yeah, maybe.
Except you.
Yeah.
You're a little old-fashioned, what you like.
Hey.
You're like, you get set in your ways. Like, this is the place I go.
It's not at all. It's just,
Adventure,
I
step
find a good
out.
place and I go there. You keep going back to Goa. It's like,
It's only the second time I've ever been here.
is it? Is it?
Yeah. It is.
Okay.
Goa tourists everywhere, especially Russians. Yes,
we had
Laura Rubino's right.
We had a
Russians are
Krishna
everywhere.
miracle. Raghunath,
You got a Krishna
listen
miracle?
To me.
Tell
There
me.
you go. Yes. So I received a little message the other day
Yeah.
from a listener named Mimi, another named Mimi from Germany.
Mimi from Germany?
And Mimi from Germany, she's a Patreon member, and she
I think
just
I follow her on Instagram.
Back in just before COVID, she was planning on coming to India for a yoga teacher training, but COVID, ruined that. And then so now she's finally getting the chance to do it right now. And but when that happened, because she wasn't able to dive into her yoga teacher training, she started searching the internet for like yogic podcasts and stuff. She found the show. She's been listening to the show every day since the beginning.
That's great. I love the people who listen to it since COVID.
Yeah. And so then so now that she was finally able to do her teacher training, she did it. And where is she doing it? Of all places? Not Goa.
Where?
Varkala. And not only Varkala,
okay.
she's just like right down the street from me. And she said, "Oh, hi," and she came over, we hung out, we got to know each other. It was really nice. Little Krishna miracle.
I will call it a Christian. How about when me and Mara were walking back in Bombay on the streets of Bombay, and there's like, it's if on Marine Drive at night, it's just packed with like people hanging out by the Arabian Sea, and like this 4 couple, they're hanging, laughing, joking. And then one of them came up, and every now and then someone will go, "Hare Krishna." They'll see some tilak, and Indians are pious. I'll say Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
But these guys said wisdom of the sages. You're the guy from Wisdom of the Sages. Oh my God, I can't believe you're here. And that was it. And took a photo of us, and I said, "That's Mara. She's famous too."
There's Mara.
Mara. She never asked for fame, and she got it.
Yeah. So speaking of
any other
Mara,
interesting
announcements? What about announcements?
What? Any other interesting news we have?
You sent your book off.
Book went out to the publisher today.
Congratulations.
Come on. What do you think? If you like punk, From Punk to Monk, that looks like the working title right now. If you like it, put it on the board. If you don't like it, tell me. Please.
I think if you got creative, you could do better.
You know what? I've been trying to pull my hair out with this one. That's why I have no hair.
Okay, I'm gonna put a little thought towards it, Raghu.
You know what? It sounds very pedestrian, but I think because we're sort of punk, we're like, no, it's not cool enough. But you know what? I think, see, Martine's totally not punk, right? Totally not punk. She's like, that's a good name. Yeah. And Nityananda Chandra, the name sells the book. As a librarian, wait, this is Sherry Yannick. As librarian, I think that title would work. Okay, see, these are all civilians. Yeah.
Okay. How about announcements today?
All right, let's go to announcements.
We have Back to Your Recovery group meetings today at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to keep the show going at this time, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time this week.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We're going to wait with that one. We have an announcement. It's top secret. Can't tell you. Can't tell you yet. It's got a big announcement, but shh. Right. Zip it. Zip. Okay.
You ready? We got Q&A day today, Raghunath.
I'm excited for Q&A day. I miss it. And then
it's been a long time since we had just a straight Q&A without like live.
By the way, this book has put so much pressure on me, like any downtime I have. And so I'm done. Now it's like, now what? I've got no kids here. I don't know what to do. And Bright Light's like, well, rest. I was like, no, I'm not going to rest. I'm 57 years old. I'm going to die in a moment. I got work to do. Rest.
You've been done with this book for like 2 hours, Prabhu.
I was thinking I should get on a train and head to Humpy. That's what I want to do. I've always wanted to go to Humpy, Hanuman's birthplace.
Now, we were about to start the Q&A.
I'm ready. I'm just talking to you, man. We're friends. Friends talk.
Okay. You ready?
Oh, I want to welcome everybody live on Facebook. Hey, if you're listening to this on Facebook, we do this podcast every day, even when we travel, even when it's not convenient. You can just email this lady here, Nitsi. Nitsy's knitting away. Email her at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. She'll send you the secret codes to join us live. Then you can be part of our little Zoom family. And if you don't want to join us live, and suppose you have a long drive to do, or you're just got a boring job, you work in a toll booth, that's okay. You can listen to the podcast. You can binge listen to the podcast. You can go to anywhere you get podcasts, actually, or YouTube, and just go Wisdom of the Sages. Search that out, and it'll come up, and you can follow us, and you can like us, and you can write comments about us, and you can do that. And then you can listen to you can backlog the podcast. So welcome, Facebook people. We don't do it on Facebook every day, just on the weekends. Okay. There you go.
Okay, so you ready? I'm going to read you the first question. This is for both of us. You ready?
Yep.
This was a very interesting question, I thought.
I feel we're going to have different answers for this one.
All right. So this is kind of anonymous. It just says, from a senior citizen, right?
I like that, from a senior citizen.
Okay. Dear Raghunath and Kastuba, I want to introduce myself as a longtime fan and a member of your Zoom group. Although I don't go there often, since at this stage of my life, my energy level is limited. Right? You got to deal with that. I listen to your podcast almost daily. I wanted to support your podcast as it has helped me so much through the past few years. And that was very nice to hear that. I don't know if this is a male or female senior citizen.
I was picturing female. Were you?
I don't know.
You know what? Now that you say that, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no.
I don't know.
Here. We don't know. Okay, I'm a very senior citizen who was initiated. So initiated means took the vows, from the instructor, formally accepted a guru. Guru accepted this person as a disciple about 5 years ago. I became a bhakti yogi in my late 70s. So this person's in their mid 80s. Yeah. After searching for answers to my life for many years, I am suffering from some physical ailments, one of which is insomnia, and have become very forgetful. That's got to be tough, right?
Insomnia, yeah.
When your mental, well, it's insomnia one thing, but becoming very forgetful too. since my younger sister left her body about 6 or 7 years ago due to vascular dementia, I'm concerned that this could happen to me. That's tough too, right? This stuff could be scary. I live in an area where there are presently no longer any devotees.
That's tough too.
That's tough.
That's really tough.
Yeah. So I spend my days reading Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting japa, tuning into the podcasts, and those of my guru. And I also try to remember to partake of only prasadam and read other bhakti literature. Okay, now a little background.
Beautiful,
I was brought up. That's very nice. I was brought up in a strict Catholic. My mother, a Catholic convert, was what we called holier than the church.
What does that mean? Holier than the church?
Like a heavy-duty Christian.
Okay.
At the age of 7, my biggest concern was dying without making a perfect act of contrition due to quote-unquote mortal sins. And
what's the act of contrition?
Act of contrition. I forget.
Is that one of the? Is it like penance and confirmation? Maybe it's confirmation.
I don't think it's confirmation. No, I'll look it up quick. Let's see what we get here. Act of contrition is a penitential prayer, something done to make amends for an offense. So you pray because of your sins,
like confession.
Yeah. Okay. And thus spending eternity in hell, where there is burning and gnashing of teeth, quote unquote. Right. 2 of my sisters became nuns and later left the convent. One also left the church. I attended 12 years of Catholic school taught by very strict nuns. Okay, so that was, it appears like that was a religious experience that did not appeal to this person.
Right.
Now they write, because of you and my guru, because of this podcast and this person's guru, I have in large part overcome my difficult past and have come to realize basically all I need to do to achieve the spiritual world is to love Krishna and all of his children, in whose hearts he abides.
Simple math, right? That's all you got to do.
But for other aging fans, I wonder if you could address the problem of aging as bhakti yogis. For example, is it permissible to break one's vow to chant 16 rounds when physically and mentally not up to doing so? That's the first question. Second question, or to drink coffee when it's difficult to stay awake at times? I recently read that the Mayo Clinic recommends several cups a day for memory problems. Also, could you address observance of Ekadashi for elderly who find it difficult to fast? Thank you so much for all that you do. Please give my regards to Mara Haribol, a senior citizen. All right, Ruggie, you want to start with this one? We got 3 questions.
Give my regards to Mara. Okay, yeah, I'm going to say you're doing great. You're doing great. You're 2 in your head right now. What's her name? His name?
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. It's anonymous.
Senior citizen.
Anonymous, you're doing wonderful. Try your best. You're doing great. I think you're overthinking things. I think it's nice. There'll always be that tension between ideal and what's real. You're filling your life with lectures from your guru, hearing wisdom of sages. I gotta up my caliber if I'm one of the ones she's depending on. I've got to raise my game.
That's right.
And you guys have given me like a tall order now in my life. I can't let people down. But I think what else does she do? She chants.
We don't know if it's a she.
She offers her food. I'm calling her a she, but it might be a he. I just want to give some gender pronoun here.
They.
I don't want to say it.
They.
Anyway, it's doing a wonderful job. And they are wonderful. And I appreciate what they're doing. I think they are overthinking this.
Well,
and you're doing great. Play this stuff. Huh?
Are you saying
I think there's
that
cardinal sins? To bring it back to the Catholic Church, there's cardinal sins, and then there's little sins. There's sin with a small s and a capital S.
And breaking your initiation vows falls under?
For an elderly person who can't stay awake, yeah, I'd say a big deal. That's what I would say.
Okay,
here's
I wouldn't
the deal.
go so far, but
what do you think she's gonna do?
Well,
what do you think she's gonna go to a bar and get drunk?
No.
That's why it's a great time to take a vow. And when you're in your 70s, like a crazy time to take a vow when you're 20, because you're thinking, I can do it forever.
I don't understand what you're saying. This person is asking, is it okay for an elderly person to not follow the vows that they've taken to chant 16 rounds per day? That's the question.
Yeah, I think if a person's of their age, I could think it'd be practical. If a person like can't remember something, no, not that she's not stopping chanting, or they're not stopping chanting. They're hearing it chanting all day long.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's the question, I suppose.
They're hearing it chanting. If their physical body can't keep up with it, what are you going to do? You're going to beat yourself up?
I'm not sure they said. I'm not sure that they said that their physical body. They said, here. Let me read exactly what they said. Is it permissible to break one's vow to chant full 16 rounds when physically and mentally not up to doing so? Okay. Well, here's what I would say about that. I'm not going to. I believe I understand what you're saying, Raghunath. But to me, there's one example that I know. Let me first talk on one side, right? And maybe you know who I'm thinking of. But there was this very
Vibhu
special
Chaitanya.
devotee. Yeah, Vibhu Chaitanya. He was an elderly man who took.
I know your mind. I'm in your mind, Prabhu.
I guess
I know the words coming out of your mouth.
All right. So here's let me share.
Okay.
This was a person that most of Srila Prabhupada's disciples were quite young. This was an elderly man in Vrindavan, and he became the cook at the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, and he would cook all day. He would cook all the offerings in that temple, and he was an incredible cook. And I never got to know him very well. I don't believe he spoke so much English.
I did.
But he was just a beautiful person to be around, And so in any case, this, from what I've heard, is that at a certain point he told Srila Prabhupada, I'm cooking all day, and if I'm going to do all this service, and he was a bit elderly, I don't have time to chant my 16 rounds, which is a vow that one takes before, the Guru and before Krishna. And Prabhupada's response was, that's okay, just chant while you're cooking. And he saw that wasn't, in that case, he was able to bend that, So I agree with you that our goal here is that we're remembering Krishna, right? Our goal here is that our mind is going to Krishna. And so I could see the bending those rules. What I would recommend is that person speak to the Guru, the person that they took the vow, the person to whom they vowed this, right? These are important relationships, and these vows are important. I would say reach out to that person and discuss your situation with them. If this is the person that you've entrusted to guide you on your path, and if this is the person to whom you made that vow, then reach out to them. And now, but I will say this: a lot of times people are disconnected from their gurus, through space, and maybe they're difficult. There's so many disciples, and maybe
they're passed away.
That's a possibility too. Yeah. So maybe they can't do that, in which case you seek guidance from someone that you have deep respect from and discuss this. I agree with, in other words, if I were responsible for guiding this person, my concern would be, okay, you're near the end. I want to make sure that in whatever, and particularly because you started this so late, that whatever way your mind is naturally flowing towards thoughts of Krishna, then let it flow that way. And if that's less chanting, that can be okay. If it's more, what we want is quality Shravanam and Kirtanam, right? Like quality hearing and chanting. Maybe you should be playing Kirtan more in your home, and
right.
Trying to connect to that. The connection to the holy name is, more than any other. That is where we want to turn in those final moments. So you don't want to become distant from chanting. So one way or another, bring that in, keep that alive, keep that flowing. So my point, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't want to be so quick to. I wouldn't be so quick to just say it doesn't matter. Just I'm not so quick to go there.
Good. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. But what we're saying now is there's a principle behind. There's even a principle why the Guru gives you. Okay, you chant this many rounds.
Sure.
There's a principle behind that, and that is to raise the caliber of ingesting spirit into our life. Yeah. And there's times I couldn't chant 16 rounds when I had COVID. I could barely sit up, but I had chant. I had like kirtan playing all the time or lectures playing all the time, because the principle was like any waking hour, I'm going to try to hear the holy name.
Right.
But it's one of those things that I understand your point too. And on another interesting side note, I had his prashad every day. Vibhu Chaitanya's, I had his prashad every day, because every day I would take his cooking and bring it to Maharaj's deity to offer to, and I got that prashad every day. Rasgullas, sweet rice.
He was an incredible cook. It was beautiful.
And when he got too old, he couldn't cook anymore. So he was the one who gave out the charnamrita. So he would just sit there and hand out the charnamrita for everybody to have.
That's like a little, kind of like a little almost like holy water or something.
It's like holy water that you can drink and taste delicious.
Yeah. Yes. And you'd put out your palm, and he would have the little spoon. He'd be sitting there, and he'd very thoughtfully pour it into the palm of your hand, wasn't it? Like very gently and lovingly poured into it was like you could see where he was at. People could just do that in a mechanical kind of way. He was doing like, I want to serve every Vaishnav. That you could feel that was his mood, and I want to make the most of it. I want to touch their hearts. I want to, and even in that simplest act, he was doing it with such love,
All right, well, good answer. You and me disagree, but come together in the middle.
Well, I wouldn't say 100% disagree, but
you know what? I don't think we disagree, Prabhu.
Yeah,
you're looking at.
I was just tempering a little bit what you're saying. Yeah, okay. I think I was just tempering a little bit what you were saying, but I think in general I'm in agreement with you.
I think we have two vantage points of the same thing.
Okay, and then he mentioned coffee drinking to me. Look,
not today, Satan. Not today. Just kidding. I think it's important. I actually think, what do you call it? It's going to help the memory. Take a little coffee. Big deal.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. And as far as fasting on Ekadashi, we fast from grains and beans. I would try to keep that up. If you know how to cook, and that shouldn't be an issue.
If you're trying to fast on Ekadashi, I don't think that's a big deal.
I'm sorry.
You could eat quinoa.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hard one to follow. But maybe you don't know how to cook well or something. That could be the circumstance or something like that. But do the best you can. Main thing is the main thing, though, right? We want to bring our mind to Krishna. We want to do it in a way. You know what I would add to that, though? This person mentioned they're hearing Bhagavatam. They mentioned that they're listening to lectures, listening to podcasts. I would add to that, if I were old and I felt my memory was slipping, prayer. I would really make prayer. I would really try to make prayer like a really prominent part of my life. I would try to make sure at certain times of the day I was doing it, and then eventually, like all the time I was doing it. Because here's the way that I look at it, Raghunath, is that where this whole yoga path leads, where it really is, our understanding as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, right, as Bhakti-yogis, is that at some point in my life, hopefully at least by the end of my life, I stand before God and with complete sincerity, am able to, with and complete honesty, say, dear Lord, I give up, right? Like, I give up on trying to be the controller. I give up on trying to enjoy this material world separately from you. I've been a fool lifetime after lifetime. All I want is you now. I want your service. Please accept my service. Please accept me, eternally. That's like, to say that and to say it again and again and to say it in 1,000 different ways with sincerity, that's where I want to be in my last moments. To not say that superficially, but to say that with complete honesty. And I think those last moments, sometimes they can be scary, frightful. I would want to already have that relationship opened up well, have that channel of communication. I want to be
This is good, Prabhu.
Yeah, I want to be comfortable already in that space.
We should think about like where, when Gopal was leaving his body, or I'm getting ready to leave his body, we decorated his whole room in pictures of Krishna. If you feel like, you're not strong, you're getting older, decorate your whole house. So everywhere you look is not only a picture of Krishna that charms you, a picture of Radha and Krishna, how you worship God, make that charm you. So when you close your eyes, you still see that picture. You want it that clear in your mind. Make it like you're sort of like living on the altar, so to speak, just looking around. There's pictures of Krishna everywhere. And then I think you should go right to YouTube and get Krishna book going on Audible.
Oh, there you go.
It might.
That's
It might even
That's
be
what
on
I was also going to say, Raghunath. I was
Spotify
going to say
too. I think.
I was going to say a similar thing, is that one place that I would really focus right now is the Krishna book, because in order to say that with complete, with wholeheartedly, in order to speak to God wholeheartedly like that, you have to know God, you have to love God, and the Krishna book is a great book. Here in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, as Prabhupada tells it.
I don't want Raghunath Orkastuba when I'm elderly. Don't take that personally. I don't want any lectures. I just want to hear Krishna's pastimes. I want them to be like welcoming into their cowherd boy family. That's how I want to.
There you go. And
what does the Swami say about that? Is he giving me?
I asked him actually. He was thinking in a similar way.
Okay.
Another thing that I wanted to mention was, I think, as Raghunath and I were trying to pull together a team. We're trying to serve all of our listeners more in a more organized way, in a more systematic way. And I think we should build into our system there should be some space for elderly people, for particularly if people are coming close to those final days, that they can get some counseling, they can get some help, that we can help them in different ways. I think, and this person, this anonymous senior citizen, if you feel unsupported out there right now, because you said there's no devotees, I think reach out to us. Write us another letter. Let us know. And let's see if we can put you in contact with people that can connect with you and support you. There are probably a lot of listeners that say, "I'll give that person a call once a week." And
let us support you. Let us be a resource.
Yeah, let us be a resource. I think we got.
You know who this reminds me of, Prabhu? Do you remember when we were young devotees? There was a guy that joined the temple when he was like 80 years old. Do you remember him, Parampara?
I remember Parampara from Canarsie.
From Canarsie, he's like this old Italian guy. He was like, he would jump in the kirtan,
and then
he became a pujari, I think.
Yeah,
sweet guy.
Sweet guy. Is that what you're picturing? You were picturing a female in your mind, but
I was picturing a female actually. But
now you're picturing Parampara. Yeah.
No, it just reminded me of Parampara. I think it's a good time to get into bhakti. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm not going to go out and drink. I'm not going to go out and have sex. I'm not going to go and do all these things. Right. But when you're 20, you're like, I'm not going to do any of those. But you struggle as you get older sometimes with those, things.
Okay.
Okay. Next question. I thought that was a great question, and thank you.
I agree.
Madam Anonymous.
Or sir.
Yes.
All right, do you want to read this or shall I?
You please.
Okay. This is from Yamuna Jelly.
Oh, right. Yamuna Jelly. We love her. She makes us jelly.
Friend.
happygirlkitchen.com.
happygirlkitchen.com. Check it out. She's got great jellies, jams, and other things as well.
Chutneys,
marmalades, shrubs,
pickles, shrubs,
different types of pickles. Okay.
And we do our Wisdom of the Sages jelly giveaway.
Yeah, and at Christmas time. And she's also a Sage Group leader, and that I think is part of where this question came from. You ready?
Yeah.
Yamuna Devidasi, Yamuna Jelly, she writes, "Thank you, Mara, Raghunath, and Kastuba for making this podcast nearly every single day, despite traveling and adventures and all the other possible interruptions. We do our best.
It's hard, but we do it.
Okay, thank you for inspiration and for guiding this very large and ever-expanding ship." Okay, thank you. Thank you. She's always so full of gratitude. There are so many great questions and conversations that come up in the Sage groups.
Yeah, I bet.
Go, right? People really are being profoundly affected by these teachings, and it causes them to think deeper and contemplate many spiritual and material topics. Hey, which makes me say shout out to Ella, who's more or less started her own little Sage group. She's getting our notes now, and she started a little in-person Sage group. I
started a new Sage group.
Israel. Well, I think we should pull it under our umbrella, but she's meeting with friends regularly and using the Sage group notes.
She's trying to break away, start her own little independent. It's like
not saying it like that.
The South will rise again. What's going on over there, Ella?
Okay. So she writes, Yamuna Jelly continues. In one of my Sage groups, the comment came up that I would love to hear you reflect on. Sometimes someone said, quote, sometimes it seems that people that do not know anything about Krishna consciousness are actually happier and more well-adjusted in this world, at least the people that I know. Okay. At first, this comment made me reflect on times when I've looked out at people in the clubs and bars and say, they only think they are enjoying. And there is something to that. There are a lot of people in the world that think they're enjoying a moment of pleasure, but suffer much of the rest of the time. But there are also those people who seem to have pretty good lives without knowing anything about Krishna consciousness. And they seem to be truly happy. And they're serving in their communities in some way, devoting their lives to something in the mode of goodness, and have nice families. Okay. Now she talks about something from Siddhartha, which was, this is where Siddhartha was questioning. Govinda was saying to him, Siddhartha, you know, our meditation is going good. We're really getting somewhere, aren't we? You know, and Siddhartha's like, no, I don't think we're getting anywhere in this practice. So this question also has been taken much deeper, such as in the book Siddhartha, where he says, and this is from Siddhartha, but where were the Brahmanas, the priests, the wise men, who were successful not only at having this profound knowledge, but also in experiencing it? Where were the initiated who, attaining Atman in sleep, could retain it in consciousness, in life everywhere, in speech and in action? And then later in the book, he speaks of his father, and Siddhartha says, be even he who knew so much, did he live, but even he who knew so much, my father was such a learned Brahmana, and he knew all the rituals, but did he live in bliss? Was he at peace? Was he not also a seeker, insatiable? Wasn't he still searching after all these years? Did he not go continually to the holy springs with an insatiable thirst, to the sacrifices, to books, to the Brahmanas' discourses? So like it seemed like he hadn't achieved what he wanted to achieve, is what he's implying. So the question is, here we go. We ready, Raghu? Yep. Sometimes it can seem that people out in the world that do not know about Bhakti Yoga can be happier and more well-adjusted in this world, have an easier time navigating this material world. But why is that if the Bhagavad Gita and other teachings that guide, but why is that if the Bhagavad Gita and other teachings are the guidebooks to life? Then shouldn't the ones who have access to this guidebook and memorize it actually be happier than those that don't? Thank you so much for answering this question, and we look forward to hearing your response. Sincerely,
like this one,
Yamuna Devi. Hit it, Raghu. You want to roll with it?
Yeah, let me roll with this first. It's quite simple. 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You know where I'm going with this, right? If you yes,
Gunas,
if you want happiness in this world, you have to be in the mode of goodness. That's just like, that's just the math. And it doesn't mean that people aren't, just because people aren't Krishna conscious doesn't mean they're not in the mode of goodness. I grew up with neighbors that were like, everything was like, you know, in the neighborhood houses in the suburbs, everything was their lawn was, the guy would sweep his lawn. That's how clean his house was. He would sweep it. I'd be like, even as a kid, I was like, what's up with this guy sweeping his lawn? But like, as I grow older, I was like, I get it. This guy's Sattvic. He's just, everything is organized and punctual, and he doesn't overspend his money. He's on a budget. He raises his kids he lives with integrity. If you do stuff like that, you'll become just happy in this world. Here's another thing on the side note. There are people that are not necessarily Sattvic, but they're happy. Like, say, a functioning alcoholic. Functional alcoholics, I feel incredibly sad for, because there's a lot of backstory we don't see, and there's a lot of trauma they cause that we don't see in the way because it's oftentimes it's functional, meaning they're not losing money, their business is thriving and things like that. But there's some trauma. They're masking some type of emotion with that alcohol. So, and another sad thing about that is they don't get enough pain to turn to God. And that's what I really feel bad for. These people who actually, maybe they've got some deep issue, but they don't have, the issue's not deep enough that drives them to a 12-step recovery group or some type of, I need to take shelter of God. So I feel bad for those people who are functioning in this world, but not not enough to actually be in great pain, because it's that distress, if they're pious, that brings them to God. It's one of the 4 pious peoples that surrender to God, according to 7th chapter, verse 16. But the function, but generally, if you're Sattvic, if you live with integrity, of course you're going to be happy in this world. And sometimes I didn't come to Bhakti because I'm Sattvic and I'm inquisitive and I'm like searching after I'm a Jnani. I came out of distress. Why? Because I'm clutched by the modes of Rajas and Tamas. Why? Because that's my karma. That's my karma from previous lives by being in Tamas and Rajas. Of course it is. And it's not like it's a curly tail of a dog, not making that thing straight in one lifetime. All I can do is add Krishna. And by adding Krishna, it starts to change the consciousness. Look at Mara back here. She's completely satisfied knitting, boring me out of my mind, but I love her. Okay. I love her. We all love her here. But that's what she does. She knits. Then she goes home and she bakes things. Then she goes home and she cleans her house. Then she goes home and she knits more. Then she makes she too also makes jelly and various things like that. Then she dusts her house. Then she drives her electric car to work where everything's organized. It's just like she's Sattvic, and because of that, she's peaceful. She hangs out with me because I appear fun. No, I cause great distress. I'm in Rajagun. I will cause her more distress than she even knows what she's getting into. She opened the mystery box when she dealt with me.
Someday she's gonna be looking back at this video. Oh my God, he said
her
it right
mantra.
there.
What have I done? What have I done? It's the booby prize. I'm sorry. I'm a really. It's incredible wrapping paper, but there's nothing in the box. So anyway, that's the deal. That's the deal. So yeah, so that happiness can exist, and that fun and that joy in the material world, but the problem is there's a God. And you want that pain. My painful karma drives me deeper to God, personally.
Okay. All right, Raghunath. I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah. That's definitely one really important factor. Like you can go to the heavens, right? Like our texts are saying that there are people on higher planets that are enjoying life like crazy. If you went there, you say these are the happiest people in the universe, right?
That's a good point.
Due to their piety. But this is the thing. I'll share a little something, and I think I really know people that have lived in ashrams and stuff. They really know, I think, where Yamuna Jelly is coming from, because these ashramites, like they'll say something like, "Oh, look at those people. They think they're enjoying. They're not enjoying," and that might even be coming from their own repression. Like a little bit of
right.
That there's a possibility. I'm not saying like definitely
sour grapes or something.
There's a bit of that could be sour grapes, right? But here's the point. One time, Srila Prabhupada, I think he was either in Hawaii or California, and he saw people surfing, right? And he said, "What are they?" And the devotee said, "Oh, they're the surfers," And Prabhupada said, "No, they're sufferers," right? Now, when you look at a person out there surfing, it looks like, "Oh, wow, they're really enjoying life. It's beautiful, it's fun," and on one level, it is, right? It is material enjoyment, but the deeply spiritually realized person, to them, they're saying, no, what they're enjoying is so temporary and so shallow, so superficial. They don't know what real happiness is.
I love this analogy.
Right?
I love this analogy.
They don't really know what spiritual happiness is. Something of a completely different nature. You read in Bhagavad Gita about it. When you feel it, you feel an incredible sense of joy that nothing can interfere with. Even if even the worst, you couldn't be shaken from it no matter what happened. And when you feel it, you feel there's nothing more in the world that I could possibly want than this. That's the spiritual happiness that the yogis are aspiring for, the yogis are experiencing. And so there's no question that due to people's karma, they are both suffering as well as enjoying on the material level. That's going to happen.
There's also some karma with this as well.
And
a person who has the good fortune to surf, who has the money to live near the beach, who gets to go to Hawaii, etc.
And then it burns away, and then you hit your head on the rock when you're surfing or something like that.
Yeah. By the way, ever surf with coral? It could be like the most tragic thing that ever happens to you.
Can be
surfing on coral.
So
look who's sitting next to me, Kelly Skinner. She's trying to enjoy the snow with her Olympic Her Olympic skiing.
She seems like a pretty happy person to me.
She's pretty happy. She is pretty happy. But these are Sattvic sports. I'm not, or they're actually her sport is a little more. I think surfing is a little bit more Sattvic than speed.
But in any,
she's been 80 miles per hour skiing. That's motive passion. That's
very
like
fast.
84 miles per hour she skied. That's insane.
Yeah, the Suffolk person's not interested in going 80 miles an hour.
No, they're cross country. You go cross country ski and then talk to me, Kelly Skinner.
So my point is, there's a we should understand the distinction between what is called material happiness and what is called spiritual happiness. We're not denying that people enjoy pleasures in this world, or that there is such a thing as material happiness. But we're very aware, even if we're not deeply experiencing it, we're very aware of spiritual happiness, and we're making it our aim. And when we live that sattvic lifestyle as part of the yogic practice, and we're moving in that direction, we feel a sense of contentment that we haven't felt before, and we will, and particularly on the path of bhakti, because you're in contact with the deepest, most powerful, beautiful spiritual elements. You feel special joy sometimes in kirtan, special joy in seva, special joy in hearing Bhagavatam, special joy. You feel a special joy that's different than that material happiness. And that's even if we haven't achieved the goal of it yet, to feel that is such a gift and such a such a pleasure for the aspiring bhakti yogi.
We radically change the gunas once you get into bhakti. So even if you're coming, like I came into bhakti working in a nightclub, staying up late. First thing I did is, now you're going to bed early. You're going to go to bed at 8:30, man. Right. You're going to wake up. When are you going to wake up? 4 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. sometimes, right? The old days, you used to come in and have kirtan. Those overambitious brahmacharis used to come and have kirtan in your room. Wake up, Prabhu, Jeev Jago. Drive you a little nuts. and right? And then and so it's like all of a sudden you're adding all this stuff that at first is very painful. Waking up early, taking a cold shower in the morning, going to the morning Mangalartik, and especially if you're really addicted to those late night gunas, then all of a sudden things start to change. You start to develop a taste for that, which is sort of bitter and astringent at first, and it becomes very sweet. And all of a sudden you change yourself. If you knew a person who is, into drugs and smoking and alcohol, Kostub, and they said, I want to get into bhakti, the first thing you'd probably say is, okay, cut these things out of your life. Like,
help.
Cut them out. I love them. Are you kidding? I have so many problems in my life. Whenever I drink alcohol, I forget about them.
Right.
No, right. It's causing you more problems.
Yeah. That's right. We're willing to let go of some of the material pleasures, which we know come with pain, right? Yeah. It's like we're willing to let go of that to pursue something higher. And in pursuing something higher, we're also enjoying life. Yeah. But our goal is a happiness that is not of this material realm, that's eternal, that's far deeper, that is our nature. It's inside. It's not coming from anything outside.
I'm with you. All right. That's a good question, Yamuna Jelly.
That was a great question. Thank you, Yamuna Jelly, and the people in your sage group. Ready for one more?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Kostuba? Okay. Yes, I am.
This is another anonymous question, but it sounds like it may be someone from the South.
It's like an anonymous person with a draw.
Yeah, it's got a couple of y'alls in there.
I love that.
Okay, so here comes. Ready? It's a nice question. I just listened to y'all's Thursday show. I don't know if they speak like that, but maybe I'll read the thing.
No, do it. Do it with that accent.
I just listened to y'all's Thursday show about the modern interpretation of the yamas and niyamas in the yoga teacher trainings.
All righty.
Such as Brahmacharya's modern interpretation of balance instead of celibacy and self-control. Remember we were talking about that the other day?
Yeah, you keep going, sugar.
All right. So the first thing continues. I was just thinking, since y'all seem to be involved with yoga teacher training courses, how do you explain the yamas and niyamas to a normal audience? Do you just lay it straight out to them and tell them that, like it or not, Ashtanga, Jnana, Hatha Yoga is a lifestyle of austerities and renunciation to connect with God, and there's no modern loopholes around them? Do you ever explain Bhakti Yoga? Do you ever explain Bhakti Yoga as the householder yoga, but its core is devotional service to Bhagavan? Actually, I once heard the modern explanation of Bhakti Yoga being volunteer services, such as volunteering to sweep a yoga studio or charity classes. Unfortunately, it seems like yoga has lost its essence outside of India. And I've noticed in some online and offline communities, people get sensitive about what yoga is. Thank you, Anonymous. How do you do it, Rogi? You lay it out there? What do you do?
It's all time, place, and circumstance. It depends who's at my yoga training. Are they my regular students or known for a long time? Is it my training? Or, do I meet them in one day we got to have common sense here. If you know and that's what a good teacher does. They know exactly how much to give the student and how much to back off. If I know a person's like completely addicted to drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, I'm going to give them a different remedy than I'm going to give a person who's, from a family of yogis who's been, practicing higher principles and just has never heard about Krishna as the personality of Godhead. So according to your time, the place, the person you're talking to, the situation, how much faith they have in you, the deal is we got to give them the medicine or they don't get better. But at the same time, you'd have to know how much that dose of medicine is. You give them too much, they'll be like, no, this is too weird. I'm out of here. Control my senses. Forget it. You got to be very expert at what to give them. That's what I say. So it's
okay, but yeah. Well, I think that you handle this kind of, like, in other words, no question you like consider the audience, but I think, you don't compromise on those things even to like a new audience. I think you'd find a way to explain it to make that.
Sure. I would say this is the gold standard. This is the gold standard of what brahmacharya is. This is what the gold standard of, right? And just like I said earlier in the show, there's an ideal and then there's what's real. The ideal is there, so we jump higher, not just so we say, well, that's some crazy archaic ideal that we're not expected to ever live up to anymore. No, these things are there for a reason. They're there for us to jump high. And in the jumping high, sometimes we fall short, but we should understand what the gold standard is. And to the degree that we sort of lower that standard, hey, that's okay. But you should understand, to the degree that I take the guardrail off the cliff, it's not, you can have no guardrail on a cliff. It just means there's danger there.
Yeah. I agree with you. In other words, I think there's a way to explain these things without being judgmental.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's still a way to be truthful about it. Like, in other words, let's paint the picture of what yoga really looks like,
Yeah.
Let's explain it. This is how it's been explained forever. Let's be aware of it. Now, that doesn't mean that if you feel like that's going to be difficult for you to do, we're not saying, oh, you're a terrible sinner or this or that. But what we're saying is that you're not practicing it fully the way that it was originally practiced, and you may be benefiting your life in wonderful ways through it. But this is actually from the Yoga Sutras. When it describes the yamas, it said that these yamas are considered the great vow, right? And it says that, let me see where it says it, what the word is called. It says it's the great vow. And he says that, here, this is 231 from the Yoga Sutras. These yamas are considered the great vow. They are not exempted by anyone's class, place, time, or circumstance. They are universal. Interesting, right?
What is that? So, a purport?
No, that's the verse.
Oh.
That's the actual verse. So, in other words, Patanjali, who wrote the book on yoga, right? Particularly Ashtanga yoga.
He wrote the book on yoga.
He literally wrote the book on it. So he's saying that
book on yoga.
If here's how you practice it, and you can't, like, at a future time say, well, that was then, but that's not now. He's saying that this is how it's practiced, right? These are universal. But that being said, I think, to me, yamas and niyamas isn't a difficult thing to explain. To explain that to be nonviolent is important. To explain that to be truthful is important. In order to have a peaceful mind to meditate, to explain that not stealing is important. To explain that not being possessive is important. And to explain that, sexuality needs to be controlled on some level. That's going to be important too, We can talk about these things. We can talk about, and then the niyamas, saucham, purity, cleanliness internally and as well as externally. Santosha, contentment. Tapas, self-discipline. Svadhyaya, self-study. and Ishvara Pranidhan, surrender to God. That this is how yoga has always been understood, and these are things that you can practice in your life. These aren't some things that are. These are the things that when someone's getting serious about yoga, they practice. And that doesn't mean. And again, when I say that, I don't want to say that in a way that's condescending. You may be practicing asana or practicing other elements of yoga and not be following that. More power to you. Keep going. I'm not staring down my nose at you. But at the same time, let's now, if we go to what the anonymous person wrote, when I hear something like this, what is it that they said that actually I once heard the modern explanation of bhakti yoga being volunteer services such as volunteering to sweep a yoga studio or charity classes.
You can't just do stuff like that. You can't just do a switcheroo, and we're going to change the meaning of these words.
And to me, that sounds more like a person work. To me, that just sounds like a person that has absolutely no clue what they're talking about. Here, to me, the sin's not changing it. The sin is, you're posing as a teacher something that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's definitely not like an understanding of what bhakti yoga is.
It's sort of like they want to use all these words without God. You want to use yoga, and they want to kick God out of the picture. They want to use bhakti and kick God out of the picture. Even karma yoga, selfless work towards God, duh. Or else you can't call it yoga. It's just karma. You're just performing karma.
Yeah, just like...
If you want to link it with the supreme, then it's karma yoga. Don't call it yoga. I'm okay with that. Just don't call it yoga anymore. Call it stretch class. Fun stretch class. Stretch class where you come and clean the studio and you get them for free class. How about that?
There you go. And just as you're saying, like I think what we've identified are there are two reasons why people may warp it. Let's say, one may be there's a motive, like you're saying, like I don't like God, and so when I translate Ishvara Pranidhana, I'm translating as surrendering to the higher self or something like that.
Surrendering to the higher self. Like, what
God.
does that mean?
Yeah.
Surrendering to the higher self.
Yeah, right.
What's the higher self?
Let's just make it so abstract that it doesn't mean anything anymore.
That it actually doesn't take any type of surrender.
Or brahmacharya, we water that down. Yeah.
That's a great one. That means like it's moderation.
But so
you got to be more moderate, Kastuba. You're a little extreme.
Okay. And then so that might be the motive, or it may come out of ignorance, right? Like I'm teaching something that I really don't understand at all. It may be either of those. But I think, the better, this is the key. The better that you know your subject, the better that you can explain it to anyone without compromising it, right? Like that's the art. If I deeply understand this, I can explain it to anyone without having to change it. But I might change the words that I use in presenting it, but I'm still speaking the same truth and the same principles. I think that's the art, and that takes experience. And really, to be a teacher at this stuff, you got to put your time in. You got to
think this stuff out.
It's not cheap. Yeah, you got to learn it for real.
All right. Well, we're running out of time, sir. We got time for Mara's takeaways here. If you're new to the show, there's no takeaways today. Everyone's like,
thanks to Laura Rubino for all the good takeaways.
You see, Laura Rubino was writing takeaways the whole time. I was like reading. Why am I looking at the message board?
Okay,
it's not cheap. So there's a takeaway. What else we got?
We got music, but we're back tomorrow at the same time, right?
Yep.
I'm looking for takeaways. Radically change your gunas by practicing bhakti. Take that away. The goal is to find spiritual happiness that's not of this material realm. That's a takeaway. We want quality hearing and chanting. That's a takeaway. Elderly and those sickly are all breaking the vows. What?
If you're elderly, anything goes.
There's the ideal and there's what's real. Okay. That's it. Thanks, everybody. Everybody listen on Facebook, thanks. Join us. Just, again, wherever you get podcasts, you can join us. Thanks for joining us today. And we are back here tomorrow live. And
same time.
Same time, which is what? New York time.
6:30 again. Eastern time.
And thanks for all the Californians showing up at 3:30 in the morning. Who are you? Oh, you're in Florida. Okay, I'm taking back that credit I'm giving you. But it's still impressive. All right, well, I'm here with the ladies. Mara, Jiva G Life Coaching, and the Bright Light herself. We're going to get some raw lasagna. do you think of that?
Raw. I don't like
Raw.
that. No.
Raw.
No, you didn't make lasagna. You cook it, okay?
I'm not cooking that lasagna. I'm eating raw. I'm on a raw food diet this whole week.
To me, it's just like what you just said. If you want to do that, then call it something else. But that's not lasagna.
Okay, we're going to call it a raw food thing that tastes sort of like lasagna.
Okay.
Raw. It's lasagna-ish tonight.
That's not. You brought that to your mother. Would she call that lasagna?
It's like karma yoga.
If you bring that to your mother, is she gonna call that lasagna? No.
My mom won't call it lasagna. She'll throw it in my face.
What's the matter with you?
Without la mozzarella, you can't call it lasagna. Hey, Mom, it's cashew ricotta. There's no noodles in your ricotta. All right, it's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let that magic continue to flow. Watch out for the jellyfish.